Hare Krishna, good morning. We will be discussing this morning Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 13, Dhritarashtra quits home, text 18. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudirayat Nastvesya Bhadrasu Nityam Bharavtasevya Bharavatu Tamasloke Bhakti Bhavatanaistike. So, Vidurastat Abhipretya Dhritarashtam Abhasata Rajanirhyam Yatam Shikhram Pasyedam Bhayam Agatam. Vidurastat Abhipretya Dhritarashtam Abhasata Rajam Nirhyam Yatam Shikhram Pasyedam Bhayam Agatam. Vidurastat abhipretya Dhritarashtam abhasata Rajam nirhyam yatam shikham Pashetam bhayam agatam. Word for word translation. Mahatma Vidura knew all this, and therefore he addressed Dhritarashtra saying, "My dear king, please get out of here immediately. Do not delay. Just see how fear is overtaking you." Purport. Bhaeshi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Cruel death cares for no one, be he Dhritarashtra or even Maharaj Yudhishthir. Therefore, spiritual instruction as given to old Dhritarashtra was equally applicable to younger Maharaj Yudhishthir. As a matter of fact, everyone in the royal palace, including the king and his brother and mother, was raptly attending the lectures. But it was known to Vidura that these instructions were especially meant for Dhritarashtra, who was too materialistic. The word Rajan is especially addressed to Dhritarashtra significantly. Dhritarashtra was the eldest son of his father. And therefore, according to the law, he was to be installed on the throne of Hastinapur. But because he was blind from birth, he was disqualified from his rightful claim. But he could not forget the bereavement, and his disappointment was somewhat compensated after the death of Pandu, his younger brother. His younger brother left behind some minor children, and Dhritarashtra became the natural guardian of them. But at heart he wanted to become the factual king and hand the kingdom over to his own sons, headed by Duryodhana. With all these imperial ambitions, Dhritarashtra wanted to become a king, and he contrived all sorts of intrigues in consultation with his brother-in-law Sakuni. But everything failed by the will of the Lord, and at the last stage, even after losing everything, man and money, he wanted to remain as king, being the eldest uncle of Maharaj Yudhishthir. Maharaj Yudhishthir, as a matter of duty, maintained Dhritarashtra in royal honor, and Dhritarashtra was happily passing away his numbered days in the illusion of being a king or the royal uncle of King Yudhishthir. Vidura as a saint and as the duty-bound, affectionate youngest brother of Dhritarashtra wanted to awaken Dhritarashtra from his slumber of being a false king, driven to disease and old age by the force of powerful time. Vidura therefore sarcastically addressed Dhritarashtra as the king, which he was actually not. Everyone is a servant of eternal time, and therefore no one can be king in this material world. King means the person who can order. The celebrated English king wanted to order time and tide, but time and tide refused to obey his order. Therefore, one is a false king in the material world. And Dhritarashtra was particularly reminded of this false position and of the factual fearful happenings which had already approached him at that time. Vidura asked him to get out immediately if he wanted to be saved from the fearful situation which was approaching him fast. He did not ask Maharaj Yudhishthir in that way because he knew that the king, like Maharaj Yudhishthir, is aware of all the fearful situations of this flimsy world and would take care of himself in due course, even though Vidura might not be present at that time. I read the verse once again. Vidurastat abhipretya Dhritarashtam abhasata Rajam niryamyatam shiram pashetam bhayam agatam. Translation. Mahatma Vidura knew all this, and therefore he addressed Dhritarashtra saying, "My dear king, please get out of here immediately. Do not delay. Just see how fear has overtaken you." Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jananjana Shanakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah Shitchetayamanopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sramrupakadamyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shiu Siyuda Patakamalam Sigam Vaishnavamsa Shirupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savdutam Parjana Saitam Sikrishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shivishakam Vitamsa Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansna Gauraki Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishamana Sutadevi Panamama Haripriya Vankha Kalpta Vishake Pasin Vishapatnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvashesha Sunyavadi Bhaskacharya Dasatani Srila Prabhupada Ki. So, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the purport that Dhritarashtra was inspired to be the king and he was attached to the position. He wanted to be the king or he wanted his sons to be the king. And so many intrigues take place in the palace and in relation to the Pandavas that and we see that Dhritarashtra was very attached. If one becomes attached to things in this world, positions, relations, whatever, it's a cause of fear because everything is temporary. That, as Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, time does not wait for anyone. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mrityu sarvasarasam, I am all devouring death. We take birth, and Prabhupada explains, after taking birth, one dies at every moment. Only the last stroke is called death. But one dies at every moment. The body goes to 6 stages and nobody can stop it. And becomes from youth to adult, becomes older, and then old age comes, and then death. And death was very soon approaching for Dhritarashtra. And the purpose of Vidura was to, especially to get Dhritarashtra to get out of this situation, that to give up this attachment, to break his attachment. And that is also one of the roles of the guru. Guru means heavy in instructions. He cuts in the attachments of the disciple. That is the duty of the spiritual master. That and we see Dhritarashtra, Vidura, he comes to the palace and he gives Bhagavatam class, and everyone attends when he gives class. That, but his purpose is especially to, although his purpose is to address Dhritarashtra, his instructions are meant for everyone. Every one of us in this world is a Dhritarashtra, trying to attain position or trying to get wealth to fulfill aspirations. And it's just the cause of fear and suffering, these attachments. That and the process of devotional service in the 5th chapter of the Gita, it is said that the results of being attached to Krishna or renunciation of the world is the same. If one becomes attached to Krishna, one loses his attachment for this material world. That's a side effect. So Krishna consciousness is a solution to get out of these attachments, but Dhritarashtra is not ready for that. He does not accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead, that in his heart. But still, by the mercy of Vidura, the Dhritarashtra will become, in the last stage of his life, a Dhira. But the instructions of Vidura are very sharp for Dhritarashtra. He will tell Dhritarashtra, look, that you have the battle of Kurukshetra is being fought has been fought, and all your other sons were killed by Bhima. And now you are living at the cost of those who murdered your sons, that even after the Battle of Kurukshetra, the, the, the Pandavas were dealing with Dhritarashtra very respectfully, addressing him still as the king. And they gave Dhritarashtra the rule over Hastinapur. He said, you become now the king of Hastinapur. And they respected his decisions also. Very interesting. This respect that they still have for Dhritarashtra as their grandfather. That's so. Yes, this is culture. But Dhritarashtra, even uh, after the disappearance of his sons, who died in the Battle of Kurukshetra, he lost everything, but still he remained attached to the position of being a king, even after all this. So strong is the attachment in this world that those who are not taking to Krishna consciousness will not be able to break this attachment. Because only Krishna consciousness roots out this attachment with root and all. Because these attachments are based on desire. The whole material world is based on desire. In the 15th chapter, the material world is described as a reflection of a banyan tree. And it's mentioned there, it's based on desire. The desire to exploit matter, the desire of positions, give this body a position, but it is childish. It's very, very temporary. So what are our aspirations in life? What do we want? And these attachments are based on desire. And Vidura came to break this attachment and point out the foolishness of these desires. Because it bewilders one, and one forgets the goal of life, to get liberation from material entanglement. That he was still trying to enjoy even in old age. But the strong words penetrated, or Vidura penetrated Dhritarashtra's heart, and it had its effect finally. He let it go. And he will disappear together with Gandhari. Will go to the Himalayas in preparing to become a Tira, undisturbed. And he will attain the position of a Dhira. He will not get the goal of life going back to Godhead. For this we need to develop love for Krishna. And his attachment was too much, was a big obstacle to that. So therefore it's important we give up our aspirations for wealth. That because otherwise we are always for wealth and position, because otherwise we are always afraid, disturbed in mind. Srila Prabhupada once he visited Indira Gandhi, at that time the president of India, and he visited her. She was heavy guarded, many guards, and Prabhupada had to pass to a whole security system. And the purpose of Prabhupada speaking with Indira Gandhi was to request her for a Western disciples to give them a visa for India, because they were easily refused because there were political issues in the government of India, and some were accusing ISKCON Western devotees as agents of the CIA. That was the whole thing. But Indira Gandhi said, "Yeah, I'm so afraid I can be killed at every moment," and she will be murdered later on. That fearful that one takes positions, identifies with, and becomes fearful. And the process, it's mentioned in the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The abhaya sattva samsur, abhaya, fearless. One becomes fearless when one takes shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Abhaya charanara vindam. Abhaya charan. Yes. That's means fearless at the lotus feet of Krishna. Because when one takes shelter of Krishna, one is under Krishna's protection. And one realizes one's spiritual position. We are spirit souls. We don't die. We are eternal. And all what happens in our life is just a dream. We dream at night, and we get up, and we think we are awake, but we are entering a daydream in which we think we are the body. That we have this body identification, and we identify especially with the mind, and so much, and because of the attachment of the mind, we suffer in so many ways. But one must give up that attachment, this daydream. And the first stage to give up this daydream is to become a dhira. And that's the first instruction of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Denasmin chitadi kamram chavam charatati antarata praptir dhirastatvanamuyati. Krishna says you have to become a dhira, undisturbed by all the changes of the body. And that is what Vidura wants Dhritarashtra to become a dhira, at least. Then he is on his way to liberation. Because everyone is overcome by fear in this world. Stress in business, in everything we do in this world, it's increasing. In school, the children, what they must learn and what they have to go to, and the competition becomes always more and more heavy. It becomes so stressful that there was an article in a newspaper that said that today 80% of the students, they are taking different medications to sleep, to reduce the stress. They are young people reducing the stress. It is a crazy world in that sense. That and then there is a stress because there's fear of being rejected, fear of not passing the test, that fear in relationships, that so all these aspirations to in our lives, they create fear. That but what are the teachings of Bhagavad Gita? Krishna puts us in a certain situation according to our past karma. That's the daydream of spiritual life. But this dream, we get reactions of our past activities. And that is what you get. And the devotee knows that. And he knows whatever Krishna gives me, because of my past misdeeds, I will be satisfied with it. The suffering I will tolerate because the fault lies in myself. And if I feel satisfied with my situation, whatever it is. And then when you accept your situation, most of the suffering is already going. But we are attached to get this result and that result. But whatever result you get soon, you lose the body. What's the use of it? So we are all, to a certain extent, Dhritarashtra's. That we are taking birth, we die at every moment, and that is approaching. We are men about to die. That and soon everything is over. But in that short span, we are here, we are fearful. We think it's also important that, but that is fueled through the illusions that are pressing us. The 5 illusions. I forgot my spiritual identity because I forgot Krishna as the first illusion. The second illusion is I identify with the body. The third illusion is I and mine. I'm the enjoyer, and this is for my pleasure. And the result is fear. And finally, it culminates in fear of death. That so these are the illusions we are living in. And to get out of this illusion, the devotees here, like Vidura. Vidura is Yamaraj, it's a Marjan. And he's cutting into the attachment of the Dhritarashtra. And that is what we need. When we hear the Bhagavatam with attention, it's cutting in our attachments. That when we become absorbed in these instructions, which Vidura will give here to Dhritarashtra, we should take that very serious and understand we are in the position of this Dhritarashtra. We are the Dhritarashtra. Everyone is Dhritarashtra in this world. And Vidura comes to get us out of this entanglement with the material nature. We are spirit souls, we are higher energy, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, but now we are trying to control and enjoy the lower energy. It's not normal for one with higher energy to enjoy the lower energy. No, we are higher energy, spiritual energy. We should enjoy through the spiritual energy, not trying to enjoy the lower energy. But we have come under control of this lower energy. But as a spirit soul, we have the capability. We have the capability to transcend this material nature by connecting with the spiritual energy, by becoming a Mahatma. Mahatma Astamampata Devim Praktiyasute. You connect with the higher energy to devotional service. And that's normal for us, but we have become illusioned. From the moment we try to enjoy the lower energy, we become entangled and we suffer. Because this lower energy can never give pleasure to the spirit soul. It's not possible to get pleasure from this lower energy. We are meant for Ananda Maya Vyasat, Vedanta Sutra said. The living entity is meant to enjoy the spiritual energy, not to exploit the lower energy. Because by exploiting the lower energy, we start to identify ourselves with this lower energy. And then we are overcome by fear, anxiety, and that is what Prahlad Maharaj said to what Prahlad Maharaj said to his father. He said, "O best of the demons, you are always full of anxiety. Because you have fallen in this well of materialism. Get out of it and go to Vrindavan and perform devotional service to Lord Vishnu." So Prahlad Maharaj also tried to change the heart of his father, but it was without results because Hiranyakashipu was not receptive. But Dhritarashtra now, at the end of his life, he becomes receptive. Gradually, now, finally, he becomes receptive. He sees it's all for nothing. I'm going to leave my body soon. So, Vidura comes at the right moment. He's concerned with his brother and he wants to get him liberated. So that's the mercy of a great devotee. Just by his instructions, by hearing from a pure devotee, it can change our life. Even a moment of association, it is said. A moment of association of a pure devotee can change completely the direction of our life. And we will see that will be the effect that Dhritarashtra will come out of illusion and he will start for the Himalayas and prepare him for death and trying to get rid of all these attachments, which were the cause of all his suffering in this world. The attachment of Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana were the whole cause of this battle of Kurukshetra. That one comes attached to the position and one identifies with the position. And that's dangerous. You can have a position in this world, and with that position goes a lot of enjoyment. but it's not for the person, it's going with the position. But we identify ourselves with the position. That a king, in the Vedic times, a king was a servant of everyone, was the greatest servant, was not an enjoyer. But Dhritarashtra wanted to enjoy the position, and that's where it went wrong. So we should do, when we get a position, we act out of duty, means we get greater service. But one should not be attached to the position. And Gandhari, she was by nature a tapasvi. She followed in the footsteps of Dhritarashtra. Because in a few days, they will, after Vidura spoke to Dhritarashtra, Dhritarashtra and Gandhari would suddenly appear. And the Pandavas would become very worried. Where are they? But then Narada Muni appears and explains what happened. He say, from now in 5 days, Dhritarashtra will leave his body in Himalayas and will attain the position of a Dhira. Of course, for us, the position of a Dhira is only the beginning. That helps us to come to liberation. Because Krishna says, your body goes to different stages and become a Dhira. How to become a Dhira? Matra sparshta kantya shutasna sukadagada ramaprininatyas tamstiksas vabharata. Dhira means you have to tolerate happiness and distress. And if you can tolerate, yamina vyatadante purusham purusharshabha, sam dukkha kamsyam somi tatvya kalpate. If you can tolerate, you are ready for liberation. And that is the position he will attain. But this liberation is only a phase and a stage in devotional service. Liberated means we have finished all material desires. And then, after liberation, we start to develop love for Krishna. We get realization that Krishna is in our heart, Paramatma realization. And that Paramatma is an expansion of Bhagavan. And then we develop love for Krishna. So that is a process. But Dhritarashtra at least has attained the position of a Dhira by the mercy of Vidura, who represents the bona fide spiritual master who cuts in the attachments of the material, in the heart. Attachments, who cut the attachments from the heart of those who are listening sincerely. Therefore, it's important we listen sincerely to the instructions Vidura will give to Dhritarashtra and understand that we are in the position of Dhritarashtra. That if we are attentively hearing, then we will have a similar effect on our heart as it had on Dhritarashtra. So, any questions or comments, please?
Very nice lecture, Maharaj. Maharaj, about your comment that mind is where we need to control. But many times the situations or environment comes in such a way that even if we understand we shouldn't do something or we should follow something, but mind is so strong that we are not able to control or divert it to a particular to act in a particular way. So in such situations, like what would be the tips, how we should handle the mind?
The mind, but the mind can be your enemy or your friend. It's your enemy when it dwells on attachment and aversion in this world. That you should control the mind with transcendental knowledge. This attachment and aversion may be there in the mind, can be very strong. But if we are a good spiritual sadhana, we will be able not to act upon this attachment and aversion, but to leave the mind there and keep it under control. Of course, if we become purified, this attachment and aversion will go. But as long as this attachment and aversion is there, we should keep the mind under control, not listen to the mind. Engage the mind in devotional service. So if we are constantly busy engaged in devotional service, it's usually no problem. But you stop it and you let the mind dwell on things, then it becomes problematic. So the advice that the scriptures give us, engage always the mind in devotional service. Don't listen to the mind, especially not when it dwells on attachment and aversion. The mind is an instrument we use. The mind is not an instrument we listen to and follow. But to come to that point, we need a good sadhana, and that gives us spiritual power. Without appropriate sadhana, it will be difficult. And sometimes we will lack the spiritual power and we will become overwhelmed. But we should not be discouraged by it. That if we become spiritually stronger, that will not happen anymore. So we have to make ourselves spiritually stronger by absorption in hearing about Krishna and by chanting, and have a good morning program. It's so essential that will save us from so much suffering. Does that help?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was thinking, man, maybe I can give once a seminar on how to deal with the mind.
Yes.
I have so many materials about that, but this is an essential aspect. There's much more to say about the mind.
Yes, Maharaj.
But
Thank you.
something else?
Yes, Maharaj, I do have a question if no one else does.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for the class, by the way. It was really eye-opening, of course, especially we should all consider ourselves like Dhritarashtra. So, okay, and then my question is that actually Purnachandra Prabhu posed this question yesterday, and I've been reflecting. I'd like to see what you think. Is that we understand that we should not be so much attached, but how do we not let that lead us to not really caring about our duties? Because we might have certain duties in this world if someone's a grihasta or they're a parent, but how do we understand that we still have to perform our duty properly, but without attachment? And how does that not lead to just being careless or just kind of, we heard so many things about Srila Prabhupada's time when people would, focus more on deity worship than children and like for the sake of spiritual advancement. So how do we really understand what level of attachment we do need to have with this world and our duties here?
Yeah. So this is an essential point, which is a basic discussion in Bhagavad Gita, throughout Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna says to Arjuna, you should be detached. And Krishna says, at the same time, you should fight. So Arjuna is confused and says to Krishna, you want me to be detached? You want me to become a renunciant? Go to the forest? And at the same time, you say to me, you have to fight. How is that? That I'm confused. You say two different things, say me one thing, and the whole purpose of the especially of the beginning of the third chapter, the fourth chapter, that and it's also mentioned in the second chapter. So Arjuna does not understand that you have to combine these two. You have to do your duty, that's the external thing. And internally, you have to be detached. That mostly people think, if I'm not attached, if I don't have profit, I'm not doing it. But that is material consciousness. Spiritual consciousness is, I'm detached materially, but I'm attached spiritually. I'm doing it for a spiritual motive. So Krishna consciousness is real renunciation. Krishna says you have to act internally in Krishna consciousness and externally do your duty. And that's real. That is acting with detachment, material detachment. So that is what we must learn in life. We are doing so many things because we have an interest in it. I'm attached to it. I'm going to enjoy this and that. And the materialist thinks, yeah, if there's no attachment, I cannot do it. There must be attachment. So that's the body concept of life. That spiritual concept of life. I'm acting just for the pleasure of Krishna. That's acting in perfect detachment. Factually, this attachment, acting with attachment is a dream. Is a big dream, is acting with attachment. Because what are we attached to? It's not ours. We have nothing to do with it. Even our body, we should not be attached to. It's not our body, it's Krishna's body. And we get it as an instrument for service. So Rupa Goswami explains in Nectar of Instruction what a real renunciation is. Real renunciation is that acting without attachment, acting detached without attachment, but at the same time knowing that everything belongs to Krishna and is to be meant to be used in his service. That is real detachment. That we say this is my house, so I'm attached. My car, I'm attached. But that's only an idea in the mind. Nothing is yours in this world. Soon you get out. And who is then the proprietor after you leave? The dead body? It's all a dream, thinking this is mine. So if we think we are attached to something in this world, it's only a dream. The soul is not attached to anything. It's our consciousness that is bewildered by the modes of nature, the mode of passion. This is mine. And we have to get out of this dream. But the dream is so strong. So if you have these attachments, like everyone in this world, how to get rid of it? By firm practice of Krishna consciousness, yes, but it takes a while. Therefore, Krishna advises you use your attachments in Krishna's service, if possible. And by that, you will get rid of this attachment. That's special to Krishna. You become attached to Krishna, and you become detached from whatever you use in his service. And this is mystical. That, like I said, when I joined Radhadesh, Bhakti Maharaj gave me the instruction, you become a chartered accountant. Okay, I was in Radhadesh and I had to follow a proof. I had to go to study again and following a proof period in an accountant's office in Antwerp. And I had attachment to drive big cars, and I had a BMW. So I was driving 3 times in a week from Radhadesh to Antwerp and back. So this about, let's see, 200 miles. So I was driving 600 miles a week. And it's a lot. And I did that for 18 months. After 18 months, I didn't want to drive a car anymore. So by using it in Krishna's service, Krishna took away the attachment. It's mystical. But that is what we have to do if we can't get rid of the attachment, then use our attachment in the service of Krishna. And Krishna will take it away. And that's the power of Krishna consciousness. But yes, but we should deeply understand this attachment is an illusion. That don't act based on your attachments. If you act based on attachment, do it for Krishna. But never do it without Krishna. Then it's a cause of fear, anxiety, troubles, and so on. So these are the basic principles. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Very helpful.
Yeah, looking forward to see you next week. Next week, I'm supposed to be in Vancouver. Let's see what happens. But I will try to give the class also next week. It will be 3:45 in the morning for me in Vancouver, but I think I will make it. Let's see. Hare Krishna. Jai Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Always Bhakti Prabhu Maharaj ki jai. Thank you, Maharaj.
Jai.
Jai Prabhupada.